and you're probably thinking, what the hell's all this crap? So basically, going down the line here, this is a Furman power conditioner. It's about $100. It's not the high-end one. It's just it filters the power, but it doesn't change the voltage if it drops too low. It just makes sure that power spikes aren't going to short any of the other equipment out. And then the only feature it really has is it displays the voltage that you're getting out of the wall there. And then these guys pull out and gives you a little bit of light to see the rack while you're playing. And I've got this empty space here. I'm going to eventually put a maybe a line 6 wireless, but definitely digital wireless in there. And then I've got the Korg tuner here, which is just kind of really there more or less for an LED show. It's got a nice blue thing that lights up. Then there's the TC Electronics G Major 2, and this is used for all the loop effects like delay, reverb, chorus. It does flange and a whole bunch of other things like Leslie sounds, and quite an array of stuff that I haven't really gotten into yet, and it's all MIDI controlled, and you can hook it up to a computer and play with patches and stuff, and it takes 100 user presets and 100 factory presets. Then down here I've got a noise reduction system. It's a G Major, or sorry, the ISP Decimator, and it's a 2-channel system, so it cleans up your signal going into the amp, and then these channels are actually connected, so it knows when you're playing and whether or not to open the gate for channel 2, and channel 2 is the gate on the amp after the preamp stage. So if you have a lot of overdrive on, when you stop playing, you're not going to hear that buzz and the hum. This channel is going to kill that. And then the last unit here is the Voodoo GCX switcher, which is an 8-channel or an 8-loop switching system, which I'll show you the back of. And you basically plug your guitar in here, and then on the MIDI foot switch you can turn on which effects you want, and these are all the analog effects, just good old guitar pedals, stuff that I've been using for years. And I wanted to keep the analog sounds in here as well as get some of the digital effects. So all the pedals are wired up to the back of this unit, and I've set it up to power everything with a ISO block. So each pedal gets an isolated power, so you don't get problems with, oh, there's not enough milliamps to support it, and you're not daisy there's no daisy chaining of pedals, so the power to one pedal doesn't interfere with the next. And a lot of my pedal boards in the past have just been really 2 power supplies and powering like 8 or 12 pedals with daisy chaining them all together, and it just ends up making a noisy mess. And then you have to really just use a noise reduction pedal to kind of compensate for all the added noise that you made. But this just goes in the slide out drawer. All these pedals will stay on, and you turn them on and off through MIDI. And this can close up, and you just can lock that up there, so it doesn't open on you when you wheel this thing around. And I definitely decided to buy everything with, all cases have to have wheels on them now for me. just because it kill your back after a couple gigs. So this actually has a pull-out handle. So I'll give a little overview of the rear of my rack here. What I've done is, you can probably see that I've gone to Walgreens and just picked up a couple kitchen lights and velcroed them in at the top here. And the basic idea is gigs generally don't have the best lighting, and if you have to come in and fix a problem back here, I figured it'd be nice to see what I'm doing. And even setting things up, generally you're not going to have the power cable plugged in, so I wanted to run everything just on battery power. So basically when I come in and set up, I run a cable to the front of the amp here, and then I'm also running effects in the amp's loop, so the signal that comes out of the amp's preamp, so the overdrive sound on the amp, is going to feed through the amp send and then back into the amp on the amp return, and it'll put all the delays and reverbs from the G major 2 into the loop of the amp. So the basic signal flow is plug your guitar into the front of this unit here, and what this unit will do is buffer the guitar signal. So if you're running 25 or 50 feet of cable, it'll buffer that signal and clean it up, so basically it sounds like you'll be playing on a 3-foot cable. And then that way you can run a couple pedals out on the floor that are buffered or unbuffered, and I'm planning on running a couple of true bypass pedals, and so all the buffering is going to be done right here in this unit. So that signal actually ends up getting split. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's guitar out, which is the buffered signal, and it splits the signal through the feed-through port here. And what I'm doing is I'm sending that split signal out to the tuner up here, and the tuner is going to be on all the time, so I can be playing, and without muting anything I can just take a look at the tuner and make any touch-ups while I'm playing live. So after the guitar signal comes in, it'll go into loop 1 of the Ground Control Pro, and my first loop here is completely open, so when I turn loop 1 on, it cuts the signal and gives me a mute, so that kills the sound to the amp completely. So if I want to tune silently, I just turn on channel or loop 1. The way this works is there's 8 loops that go through, and these little jumpers hop between each loop. It's a pretty dynamic routing unit, but I'm basically just using it to run 5 pedals and the mute here. So the signal comes in, goes through the feed through. When this is off, it hops here, and goes to loop 2, and loop 3, 4, hops over to 5, and then 6, and then 7 and 8 I'm not using right now for anything, but I can always add something in the future. So then the signal path finally ends up routing to the output of port 8, and then what I do from there is I go into the input of channel 1 of my ISP Decimator, and this is a unit that will clean up any of the noise and stuff that gets picked up from the pedals or from the guitar itself, and reduces any of the hum and nastiness. And this unit has 2 channels, so it's basically like having cleansing unit in front of the amp, as well as the signal that comes out of the amp. So basically your signal is going in nice and clean into the amp. Then your amp, when you turn on the gain stage, it gets kind of noisy again. So it ends up cleaning up that gain stage and then sends a nice clean signal into the effects unit. This is a digital effects unit that'll do like reverb, delay, chorus, pitch, and a whole bunch of things. And then it sends a signal back into the amp, which finally goes to the power stage and then out the speaker. That's the basic routing for the guitar signal. Now the other main advantage of this unit is everything is MIDI controlled. So the MIDI foot controller ends up plugging in here where it says pedal in, and then the signal is routed through with this little 1 foot or 6-inch MIDI jumper, which goes into the G Major 2 unit. So all of these 8 loops are turned on and off by a MIDI box, and they can be programmed to turn, say, loop 2 and 4 on at the same time, or shut everything off, or turn 2, 4, 8, and 5 on. It's all designed so you don't have to hop around and hit a whole lot of pedals at once. You just press one button and it gets your preset set up. And the preset can also change what type of delay and what type of reverb, if you want to use like a tremolo or a Leslie sound or something. And then the MIDI also makes a hop, and I can connect it to the back of my JVM amp, and it lets me pick which channel, if I want to use the clean channel or the overdrive channel. And the way my amp is set up, it actually has 4 channels with 3 different gain stages per channel, so I have 12 sounds basically that I can get out of the amp with switching over MIDI.